2026 millage required local effort. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I second it. Any discussion? Please vote.
Mr. Williams, I'd like to say something. I've listened very attentively over the last couple of months about the increase in millage rates and others, and I wanted to say this before we get too far along in this process. When we originally started this process, I voted yes for the increased millage rate. Not a single person showed up here for the public hearing. Since that time, I have received a tremendous amount of pushback in my district. District 5 is mine, and in that district, people, I've heard from our senior citizens, I've heard from those young couples that have just bought a new home and have their budget set. I've heard from the small farmers out there, and all of them, I've only had one or two people tell me they're in favor of not a sales tax, I keep saying a property tax increase. All the others are telling me that, Tom, we don't need to do that at this time under these economic circumstances. Tonight, I will be voting against the increase in millage rates for that reason. I represent the people of District 5. District 5 has told me overwhelmingly that they do not want this. They were kind enough to give me this seat to represent them, and I'm going to represent them the way they indicate that they would like for it to be represented, which will be a no. So any of the votes that are taken here pertaining to the millage increase, or if it comes back to a portion of that for another budget, I will be voting no. All right, so that's what I wanted to say to begin with. Thank you.
Adams.
Mr. Chair, as everybody knows, I have never voted for a property tax increase on this board ever since I've been elected. And what I have told my constituents over and over again, if you support that half-cent sales tax referendum, I'll never vote to raise property taxes. That's the way it's been. We're one of the 19 school districts that have that. And that's a very special thing to have. It's done a lot of good work. But the other reason is this is a tax that we're putting on our own employees, our own retirees. I walked in the teacher's house when I was campaigning. She said, Mr. Adams, 10 years ago when I retired, I thought my retirement check was big, but now I got everybody in Escambia County asking for a tax increase. I don't care if it's water, garbage, electricity, county commission, school board, So their checks are getting smaller and smaller. Now, people that can write a $1,000 extra $1,000 check and not even think about it, it's no big deal. But we have a lot of people that are getting squeezed tight, particularly from that last administration with that 9% inflation we had. It's gotten better now. It's not all the way, but for that reason, I'll be voting no. I think I misfired on this one because I thought I see it's a required local effort. That's fine, but I will be voting no. I got the same old card when I first ran, and I got on here and never once voted to raise property taxes and never will. Now, what's important is at this meeting for the next year, if there's other board members thinking the same thing, you need to let that superintendent know so they don't walk in here the last minute. But I hope DeSantis wins. I support DeSantis about removing property taxes for those that homestead properties. Okay? And if that don't work, then there should be a legislation enacted to where the county and the school board and city cannot go above the rollback rate every year. If they want to go above that, they got to do a referendum, go countywide vote, and let the citizens vote on that. But I think that'll be the solution if DeSantis don't come through. I hope he does come through, and what he has. But for that reason and more, I'm going to be voting no.
Ms. Fesco.
Yes, sir. Like Mr. Adams, for 7 years I've sat on the board now, and I've never voted for a property tax increase. This year is the first year that we got money. The state gave out the budgets. The budget for our total increase was $1 million over what it was last year. And Mr. St. Cyr, if I misspeak, I need you to correct me. $1 million. In the meantime, everything has gone up. As you talked about the rate of inflation, 20-some%. Not only that, the big things that hit us have to do with the retirement rate that we have to pay into insurance that we have for employees and everyone else that we do, those are millions of dollars as it is. Our financial cost differential, the money that we have in the reserve went down by about $11 million, I believe, or 12. The reason that becomes important, there's a lot about the FEFP, the Florida Education Finance Program, that people do not understand. During the workshop last week, we had a speaker, Mr. Downs. Mr. Downs said, "You have 5,000 less students than you had. Why are you still getting the same amount of money from the state?" And I explained to him after that meeting, that's the same amount, but that's money that goes to vouchers. $50,000 comes off the top that goes to vouchers. Kids who aren't in our seats, in our schools, but the money looks like it's coming to us because the state passes it through us. We don't know who those students are. We don't know where it's going, whether it's going to private, parochial, or homeschoolers. But that money looks like it's coming in to us because it's in our budget, but we don't get a cent of that. The other thing that happened is we were alerted that we had nearly 300 students who are now in our schools who took a voucher, but the money didn't come to us. What did they do with it? We don't know, and we don't know if or when the state will make good on that. Because when things go through other entities, they don't come back, oh, we made a mistake and we're going to send you the $2.5 or $2.8 million that those students are costing you. No, we may see that, we may not. If it shows up at the end of the year, that'll be part of the fund balance that we need to have. But those things go into to what happens with Florida Education Finance Program. We have 5,000 less students, but our costs haven't gone down. If we have our 77 passenger buses running and they're filled, they still don't pay for themselves because we transport kids who are in unsafe walking areas. We take money out of the general fund to pay for those because the state won't do it. So we could say, oh, well, it doesn't matter. The state says they're good to walk, and so we'll let them cross across major thoroughfares and highways and everything else. No, because the students do come first. But that's just part of it. Our schools are not at capacity. Students have left, but we still have to air condition them. We still have to pay the electric bills. Those haven't gone down just because we have less students. The other thing that happens that people don't realize, one of the uniquenesses of us is this. If we don't do something, and let it be known, the only thing on here that the school board can make a difference in is the local capital improvement. That's the only one we get a vote on. Everything else, required local effort, prior funding, discretionary operating, that all comes from the state. I know that we had somebody speak about how appalled they were that the school board would be looking at raising the tax rate anywhere in here. What wasn't said by that representative was this: if we didn't raise it 1 cent, we would still be advertising a tax increase because the state's portion went up. The stuff that they control went up before it gets to us. Everything in here is prescribed by law and regulation, and it comes to us. So the required local effort, the prior period funding adjustment, discretionary operating, that's all set by the state. The only thing we make a difference in is the capital improvement. Why, in the first time in 7 years, am I looking at doing this? Because if we don't do this, then we will take every penny out of the fund balance that we have, and we will start next year millions of dollars in debt. 2 years ago, Hillsborough County had to borrow $100 million to start their school year. Why would that happen? What people don't realize what that fund balance does. That fund balance gets us started. The state doesn't say, oh, you're going to get $400 million, here's your money. No. Just like your paycheck comes in chunks, if you have an annual salary, you don't get that all at one time. You get it as you work it. The state sends it to us, but at the beginning of the school year, when we need to do payroll and everything else, we have to rely on that fund balance to be able to make our payments so that we don't have to borrow millions of dollars that we're going to pay interest on in order to start before we get the first cent from Tallahassee. That's a difference in school finance versus general accounting finance. They do very different things to us. The reason that I'm voting for this local capital improvement to go from 1.004 to the 1.5, I am voting for it because if I don't, there's $52 million that we're going to depend on to be able to operate and to be able to stay and have that fund balance there so we don't go in the red. We, as a board, will go in the red, and we will start off next year so far in the hole that we won't get out of it, and then we'll have the state take over our entire budget, and they will do with it as they please. In the last 2 years at least, going on 3, our academic improvements have been on a trend that continues to improve. If we don't do something to make sure that our employees get some type of increase in their salary, some type of compensation for the work they do, we will lose the people we have trained, that we have in place, that are making those academic differences. And we're going to celebrate kids who are doing well academically. Well, we won't be celebrating in the future if we don't, because we won't have the money to retain the good staff that we have. I'm a little bit riled up. I realize that. Do I want to increase the tax on anybody? Hell no, I don't. Do I have to? Would I be irresponsible to let things go into the red and tank because I had the opportunity to do what is hard and what is right to keep the district afloat and the kids going in a positive direction? I don't want to do this. And the minute that things would change financially from the state, and why the state all of a sudden this year, and they're projecting next year and the year after, to do less and less and less for the traditional public schools. Why? I don't know. I don't see that Disney has less people. I don't see that we have less people moving into the state. I don't see that they're collecting less taxes, but they're not doing it to education. They're holding us where we were probably 2 years ago. They're continuing to fund kids to leave our schools and making it look like we're still getting that money, and we're not. So I don't know where somebody got something about a 50% increase, because I didn't see anything like that. And a 0.4 is not 50%.
Public comment is
It was a
done.
1.0. Okay, it's close, you're right, it is close. But that's in one section. That's the capital improvement only, not the entire budget. That $52 million it's estimated it's going to generate will make the difference of whether we stay afloat financially or not. And I'm sorry, I really am, because I do not want to raise taxes. But I am also here because I devoted 38 years of my life to this school district and the kids who are in here. And I don't want to see it crippled and go down the drain over what seems to be, on the average, 25 cents a day or 2 Starbucks coffees a month for the average taxpayers. So, you know, that's where I am. I'm going to vote for it. My fellow board members could stand on whatever they want to, but I will not let it go down. I'm sorry.
Ms. Bergosh.
Yes, thank you, sir. I'm going to also vote for this. You know, you elected the school board members to make tough and hard decisions. And yes, just like Fesco said, we do not want to raise your taxes, but we look at the increasing cost of our district operational funds. For example, we were talking last month about buses. We have 250 of them. 10 years ago, a bus, 77-passenger bus, cost $109,000. Today, that same bus costs $168,000. So think about that, and that's 250 buses that we ensure the safety of our kids going to and from home. We also have to think about schools and air conditioning and heating our schools and our facilities. That's increasing. We know that's increasing. We still have to ensure the safety and well-being of our schools, our students, and our faculty. You also think about the cost of providing breakfast and lunch for all of our kids. And also, the last and most importantly is we want to keep our highly skilled teachers. And I get very emotional too, but this is something I was raised in the Escambia County School District. I taught in the school district. It's very important and very passionate about it. Wanted to do well and continue on that upward movement. So just like Mr. Fesco, I do urge my fellow board members to think about that.
Yes. Thank you for all the comments, and I'll make mine brief as well. But I'll take it from a different aspect. I've been able to be in the school system as a teacher, a coach, and administrator. And I often told Mr. Leonard that we don't do a good job of telling the public of what a great job we're doing. I can tell you we've been cutting our budget since I've been in the system. I was administrator for many, many years. Every year my budget got cut. And I can remember years ago, I had 15 custodians. It was cut down to 8 for a 36-acre facility. We have been cutting and right-sizing and doing what's best for years. And so when I ran for this position, I promised I was going to do the best for teachers, administrators, and ed support workers. Those are my first concerns. The people in District 3 has confidence in me to vote up or down. And so I listen and I stand here and vote what I think is best for the ones who actually got to do the work. I admire what our senior staff has done, but our decisions have a great impact on how hard we make their jobs. It's very difficult for Mr. Saints here to do the job when we don't vote this budget, which is going to affect human resources, which is going to affect the curriculum, which is going to affect operations. Everything else is going up, but we want the same type of service for nothing. You know, and also I think some people don't understand how it affects academics. I worked at a school where the higher level math and higher courses probably only had 10 or 12 students in that course. We will lose that possibility of those students taking higher level achievements courses if we don't do what's right by the budget. It directly affects students. It directly affects everything. So I'm voting in favor of the budget. And so please vote. Yes. We're voting on item C. Item C is the 2025-2026 millage required local effort. We've already had a motion and a second, and we had discussion. I think it's time to vote. Am I correct? We're in order?
It's approved 4-1. And Chairman, I asked Ms. Payne to go out to let them know we might be about 5 to 10 minutes over, so take your time and vote as you need to vote.
Thank you, sir. Item D, 2025-2026 millage